Okay, hey everyone, it's Kelly, and this video is going to be very erratic probably, and I don't want to have to redo it. I just wanted to make a video, and it's probably going to be really long, about all my views on abortion. All of y'all know that on my political blog, that's probably the main topic because personally, it's what I feel most strongly about, because I think it's a very important topic. And I just never feel like I've ever said enough, and there's so many people out there that it just angers me, and it hurts me, and it breaks my heart, the way that people view abortion. So I just really wanted to vocally, try to combat almost every abortion argument that I've ever come across, because I've had my blog now for a year, and since then I've probably debated with hundreds of times with I don't even know how many pro-choicers, hateful people, and I've learned a lot. I've learned about arguments that I never even knew about, and I used to think back when I first really got on the pro-life bandwagon. I've always been pro-life, but I started arguing about it, or arguing my point a while ago, and I always thought that, oh, well, these people just don't believe it's a human being. If we can get them to believe it's a human being, then of course they'll come to their senses and be pro-life. But that's not the case. I mean, some sure, but most pro-choicers that I know of, they don't care. I mean, some of them really do know it's a human being, and even if they don't believe it's a human being, they gladly will admit that even if they did believe it was a human being, they would still be all for abortion, all based on the bodily autonomy thing, and I'll get to that. So, really they don't care, because their key feelings about it is that it doesn't matter, the mother can do whatever she wants. And I just think that's a lot of bullcrap, and this isn't going to be, I'm not going to try and make it bashing people, because I want to be better than that, and I don't want to start anything. I'm just going to express my views how I expressed them a million times over in asks, but I'm going to make a video about it, and hopefully I can put it permanently on my blog and people can watch this in the future. But let's get to it, because this video is going to be long enough as it is. There's the first argument that you always hear: it's just a clump of cells. Well, what I have to say to that is, first of all, we're all a clump of cells, alright? We're just bigger, Being a bigger clump of cells does not make you more important than a smaller clump, I mean, and plus, yeah, a clump of cells doesn't look like any of us, but a toddler doesn't really look like a teenager. A teenager doesn't look like a full-grown adult or an old person. We are all constantly in stages of development, and a newly fertilized embryo is at the perfect stage and the normal looking stage for a human being at that stage of life. It's not abnormal for a human being to look like that when they're first being developed. So it's not like some alien. It's not, just because it doesn't look like what you look like doesn't mean it's not a human being. So there's that. And then you have, let me see, what are some other ones? Like, going along with the clump of cells when, it doesn't look like a human being, and they're like it's not human. There's the whole old acorn analogy where they're like, is an acorn a tree? And you know what? An acorn's not a tree. But a baby's not an adult. A teenager's not a 2-year-old. But they're all human beings. And an acorn and a tree are both a plant, and they're the same species, just at different stages of development. And then you've got things like the mother's choice is the most important thing. Well, what about the child's choice? We're talking about two human beings. One of them, now excluding rape, one of them chose sexual activity and got pregnant by her own fault, along with the help of her partner, and now all of a sudden she thinks she has the right to kill another individual for her mistake. Make the child pay for her mistake. That's what abortion is. And I'm just like, what about the child's choice? Because regardless of if they can speak or not, they still have their own rights, their own human rights to life. And do you actually think if you could ask them, they'd say, oh yeah, you can totally kill me, that'll be fine? Like, no, nobody would say that. So I'm like, when you're talking about your choice, there's a child's choice involved too, and that's what the pro-life community is about, is being their voice, because they can't speak for themselves. But I'm not going to sit by while somebody goes to a clinic and let somebody rip their child apart. Like, I'm just not going to let that happen. I'm not going to be quiet about it, because that makes me part of the problem. And then you've got the bodily autonomy, which I was talking about earlier. Bodily autonomy is the belief that you have, every right to do what you want with your body and what happens to it. Well, you know what? I totally agree with that statement. That makes totally sense. But you have bodily autonomy until it crosses paths with somebody else's. An unborn child has their own body, their own right to their own life, and their own right to make choices for that. Well, your bodily autonomy does not get to decide their bodily autonomy. And people are like, well, you're reducing people to lesser than corpses. You don't have the right to kill somebody, and you don't have the right to take somebody else's organs. The whole organ donation argument goes along with that. Your bodily autonomy ends where somebody else's starts. So, forget that. Let's see, what's next on the agenda? The whole, it's not a human until it's born or it's viable. Okay, that's a load of bullcrap. You're talking about, some people literally do not believe you deserve the right to life until you're born. They're literally saying that an 8-inch journey out the birth canal magically makes your life valuable. Like 5 minutes ago before they were born, you can kill them and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but 5 minutes later, their life is valuable and you can't touch them. Like, that just makes absolutely no sense. I'm like, do you hear yourself? And then you've got also some myths, or that all pro-lifers are religious. That's not true. I personally, yes, I'm religious. I'm a Christian. And I know that that's stereotypical of pro-lifers. A lot of us are religious because as a Christian, I do believe that our life value comes from the fact that we are made in God's image, and that, God gives us our value. But you can be pro-life but not religious. I mean, I know plenty of pro-lifers who are not religious because, every human being that I know of, religious or not, values human life. I mean, that's just common sense. And you don't need to be religious. You don't need to have a God to tell you that killing somebody is wrong. And so, never, unless somebody else brings it up, I never argue abortion with religion, because I know that not everybody is religious, so that's a biased argument. So it's not true that everyone that's pro-life is religious. It's not about religion. It's about human rights and human dignity and value of human life, which we all, I would hope, hold sacred. And keeping on the God subject, some people are like, well, God's pro-choice. And they bring up usually verses from the Old Testament about, God sending his wrath and killing a bunch of children, and usually they've taken it out of context and they don't understand what they're talking about. They just read it off of Google and they automatically think, well, here, I've got some place to stump them. That's not true. Alright, first of all, a lot of the Old Testament stuff, I personally, I'm not going to say I understand it all, because I don't. The Bible is very complicated, especially the Old Testament. And there's stuff that I don't understand. I'd have to consult, my pastor or somebody with a lot more knowledge than me. But, God, yes, God has brought his judgment down on people in the past. And you know what? That wasn't something he enjoyed. And on top of that, people seem to be forgetting that they're not God. Okay, they seem to think that, well, God killed people, so why can't we? What's wrong with abortion when God kills people? I'm like, you're not God. Did you create the universe? Did you create the world? Did you create human life? No, you didn't. God does those things. He's the creator of life, and only he has the right to take innocent life away. And, people just they can't comprehend that. Like, it's like a hard something for them to comprehend. Like, they just don't get it. Like, you're not God. You don't get to take human life. The rules are for us, not him. So, there's that. Let me see. What's next? the exceptions for abortion. You know, people always ask me, well, what about in the case of rape, or the mother's life is in danger, or the child is going to be born with disabilities? The only time that I would support abortion is if the mother's life is at risk before the child becomes viable, can live outside the womb. Because, you know, if you've got a mother whose life is dangerously in risk and her child is far from being able to live outside the womb, there's no reason why two people should die. So in that sense, I support abortion. I believe it should be done as humanely and as respectfully as possible of the child's life. You know, I would hope that their body wouldn't be torn to pieces and treated like medical waste, but sometimes it is necessary to end the pregnancy if the mother's life is in danger. If her life becomes in danger after viability, then I would highly support delivering early. I don't see any reason why you would need to kill the child. Then there's rape. There are some pro-lifers who support abortion in the case of rape, which I don't understand, because a child conceived in love and a child conceived, in rape are both human beings. Neither of them are guilty for what their father did or didn't do. And it's not fair that they should have to lose their life for somebody else's crime. And yes, I care about the mother. I understand her situation is very hard. I can't even imagine. I wouldn't want to even imagine being put in her situation. But when we're talking about somebody's life, I think hard choices must be made. And I think that to kill the child for what the father did would just make a bad situation worse. And I think the mother should be given all the support that she would need, and love and attention. But abortion would just make it worse, in my opinion. And I know other people don't see it that way, but if we're going to talk about human life being precious, that means all human life. And this is where talking about, some people get on to me because I support the death penalty. Well, I will say that I have struggled with that in the past few days. I've thought about it, and I'm not supporting it at this moment. I still support the death penalty right now, but I do think about it, and I do contemplate, what's right, what's wrong, because the Bible doesn't clearly state that. But it's easier for me to say, abortion and the death penalty are not really comparable. We're talking about innocent human life versus a murderer. And so that's a whole nother topic. I mean, is it wrong to kill somebody because they killed somebody else? Well, that might be debatable, but there's nothing debatable about killing an innocent child, in my opinion. And I would hope other people would see it the same way. Also, child with disabilities. I've kind of gone back and forth on this. Now, if we're talking about disabilities like, Down syndrome, or born without legs or arms, or, a dwarf, things like that, things that are not, life-threatening, I just think that's ridiculous to say they need to die, because I think we can all say that we've met a disabled person and they encouraged us or gave us hope for humanity in some way, because really they are some of the most inspiring and beautiful people that God's ever put on this earth. And I always say, God doesn't make a mistake. And I believe, God loves those people the same way He does us, and He sees them as valuable, and we should see them as valuable. And I think that, they're a blessing to us. So in that sense, no, abortion in case of disabled children, that's not right at all. But I have wrestled with the idea of, like, children born with conditions that are like born with no brain, or born with a heart condition that they're going to die right after birth. I'm like, should we put a child through that kind of suffering if we know they're going to suffer and die, like, basically right after birth? And I thought, well, no. But at the same time, I thought, well, what if the doctor's wrong? What if they live longer? What if they live longer than expected? What if they don't actually have what the doctors say they have and it's a misdiagnosis? What if God wants them here for a reason? My religious beliefs come into that perspective, So I'm like, God created them, you must want them here for some reason. So I struggle with abortion in that sense, but mostly I would say no abortion in the case of children born with disabilities. But in certain situations, it would be debatable, I think. Let me see. Some people say, it's a fetus, it's not a person. And I just like to say, a fetus does not describe a different species. Fetus describes a human being at the stage of life before birth. It does not describe a different species. Just like toddler and an adolescent and adult and senior citizen all describe one person at different stages of development. We're all the same people. I was the same person I was when I was conceived that I am today. I'm just at a different stage of development. My life has had value since the beginning, and it always will. Human life does not automatically find a value. It's always valuable. No matter what stage of development we're at, bigger, smaller, smarter, dumber, white, black, homosexuality, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're all valuable at every stage of our lives. And that's another thing. Back to homosexuality. That's a good point I need to bring up. For some reason, pro-choicers seem to believe that pro-lifers, this is going back to the we're all Christians thing, we hate gay people, and obviously if we could find out that the child was gay, we'd all of a sudden start supporting abortion. That's bullshit, okay? That argument probably pisses me off just about more than anything else, because we don't care. First of all, Christians don't hate homosexuals, alright? That's a common misconception. You're thinking about the Westboro Baptist Church crazy people or something. That's not every Christian. We don't hate homosexuals. God doesn't hate homosexuals. And we certainly don't want to kill them. And if there was a way to say that a child was going to grow up to be gay, we certainly would not want them to be aborted. Every human life has value. I don't care what your race is, your gender, your sexual orientation. Everybody has equal value. And that really frustrates me when people say stuff like that, because it makes me mad and it angers me and it hurts me that people would think that I would literally want somebody to die based on their homosexuality. I have gay friends and I care about them very much. They're good people. They're good friends to me. And the thought that you would think that I would want a child like them to be killed, it offends me very much. So no. Let's see. Oh, and here's a good one. The old argument that masturbation and periods kills potential human beings, so it should be banned too, like they're abortions or something. No, okay? You need to go back to biology class and get slapped with a textbook or something like that. That is ridiculous. Okay, first of all, a fertilized embryo, a fetus, unborn human beings, they're not potential life. They are life. They are human life. They are human beings. A sperm cell and an egg cell are cells. They are single-sex cells. They hold the same DNA as the person that carries them. Only when they are connected do they make a new human being individual. Before that, they are like any other cell in your body. They are not a human being. They are not an individual. They are potential human life. They are not human beings. And women carry hundreds of them. Men have thousands upon thousands of them, maybe, probably even million. And not every one of them is meant to be turned into a human being. We only have so many so that when we do decide to have children, we have a better chance of conceiving. That's the only reason we have as many as we do. So it's not, there's nothing wrong. They die every day by themselves anyways without your help. Masturbation and periods and things like that, that's just ridiculous, alright? You need to go back to biology class. I'm sick of talking about it. Like, all of these things that I'm talking about right now, I have been asked and asked and asked a million times. So I finally wanted to put it into a video, and I know this video is erratic, and it's long, and I knew it would be, and I haven't been going in any pattern really, but I just felt like it needed to be said. And I'll probably get a lot of messages, and a lot of reblogs, and a lot of hate, but you know what, that's just something I'm used to. Oh, let me see, there's one more. Overpopulation and kids in foster care. People say, well, we've got so many kids in foster care and so many poor children, and the world is overpopulated, So, we just need to handle that. There's nothing wrong with abortion. And I'm like, first of all, overpopulation is a joke. There's plenty of room for everybody. We're just not managing resources right. Alright, there's a lot of problems in this world, and people want to blame it on overpopulation, and that's just bullcrap. And first of all, overpopulation or no overpopulation, we don't treat human beings like that. We don't. You don't kill people because there's no room. That's just inhumane. That's not what a civilized group of human beings does. And talking about the foster care, people say that the foster care is overrun. First of all, foster care is not full of children that were unwanted. Sure, there's some that were given up at adoption and they ended up in the foster care system, but foster care is mostly for children whose parents want them, but they are unable to raise them temporarily for a certain time, whether it be, drug addiction, neglect, whatever. It's not that they're unwanted. Most of their families want them back desperately. I'm in human services. I know these things. It's not unwanted children that are in foster care. It's children whose parents cannot take care of them for whatever reason. And second of all, like I've said many, many times before, human beings should not be treated like shelter animals who are killed when unwanted. We're not animals, alright? We don't treat our species like that. We're not dogs, we're not cats. You don't go and you don't start killing off children and unborn human beings because you think there's no room for them or that they're unwanted. That's just ridiculous. We have no kill shelters for animals, and yet we treat, our own species like we're worthless. It just infuriates me. I lost my train of thought. It just makes me so mad I can't even see straight, and I just don't understand why this is why I'm like, humanity has just gone to crap. I can't imagine viewing the world like that. Oh, and they talk about it's not murder. Well, you know what? You could say that it's not murder by a definition from Webster, but it is killing a human being. And whether you want to call that murder or not, it's wrong. Killing an innocent human being is wrong. I don't care if you call it murder or not. That's what it is. And then you have, they say, this is the last one, and then I'll cut off and I'll sign out. It says, making abortion illegal won't stop it, and it'll make it dangerous for women. Well, first of all, what law do you know that has stopped anything completely? Rape and murder of already born human beings and drugs, they all still happen, and they're all very much illegal. Laws are never going to make something totally illegal. They're supposed to make it harder so that it happens less, and so that people who do them get punished for it. That's why things are illegal. And abortion should be no different. Abortion should file under murder. It should go along right with that. And people who commit abortion, the doctors specifically, should be tried like any murderer who has killed a human being. And, it doesn't matter that it won't stop it completely, because that's just like anything else. It needs to be illegal because it's wrong. And on top of that, they talk about, it'll endanger the women. It'll just make more women will die and stuff like that. And I've heard statistics that say that's false, but I'm not going to get into that because I don't know enough about it. But regardless of that, I want to know why I should care about making safe, legal murder safer for the murderer. Why should I do that? Why should I give her a place and a time and healthy access to be able to kill her child? I don't understand that. I don't understand why I should support that. That doesn't make any sense to me. So, I believe I have gone into just about every thing on this list that I have put together. I wrote it on an envelope. But I know this video was erratic. I know it was crappy quality, and I hadn't written it out in the speech. I just wrote down a list of things to talk about, and I just kind of went at it. And I know that I ramble, and I know this video is long. I told y'all it would be long. But if you stuck around and watched the whole thing, I appreciate it. And if you have anything to comment, I don't want to start a reblogging war. I hate that. I hate spamming everybody with the same thing over and over again. So I'm not going to be responding to messages that I get from this video by reblog. If you have something to say, I would be glad to talk to you in my ask box. So please send me a message in my ask box if you have something to say, whether it's nice or hateful or whatever. Do that, please. But I'm not going to be reblogging this video 100 times. So, thank you for watching, and I love all of y'all. Y'all are wonderful followers, and I appreciate your support, and it's been a long time since I've done a video. Sorry for how awful I look. I've been kind of sick. I haven't felt so good, but thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all later.